The anchor of the team, the playmaker, the leader, the main tank. You may be wondering what makes a main tank player create the most value with their team, and luckily enough for you, that is exactly what we are here to talk about today. So let's get right into it. Alright, welcome back guys. I do have a few housekeeping things that I want to get out of the way before we actually get into this video. I do plan on making a video for each one of the roles in the competitive scene, and they should be released every Thursday around 4 p.m. EST, but with the holiday schedule that might be due to change. But we're just going to get right into it from here with main tank. Now I do have a special guest with us today. If you want to introduce yourself, Crimson.
Hello everyone, my name's Crimson and I'm a main tank currently playing for ATK mode. I'm more than excited to give you some tips and information to help you better understand the role of main tank and what it means to be a good main tank inside of Teamplay. The main tank role tends to consist of characters that are less aim intensive or mechanically challenging. Main tanks will typically play Reinhardt, Winston, Wrecking Ball, Orisa, and in very rare double off tank metas, Roadhog and Sigma. Instead of hitting amazing shots or filling up the kill feed, finding value as a main tank comes from good teamwork and even better communication skills. As stated in Paz's video a week earlier, a team's communication flow typically consists of 5 steps. First, ult tracking. Second, fight planning. Third, scouting and pathing. Fourth, the main fight. And fifth, the cleanup. The communication role of a main tank falls in the fight planning, pathing, and the main fight. Starting with fight planning, a main tank is responsible for creating the fight plan for the entire team to carry out. A simple fight plan typically consists of 3 things. 1. Where you are starting. 2. What you're doing, which can include whether you are engaging early, playing slowly for spam, or what ults you're using. And finally, where you are enacting your plan. Of course, a good fight plan not only takes into account what heroes and ults your team has, but what the enemy might have as well. Does the enemy have a Reaper and a Brig while your team has heroes like Zen and Hanzo? Maybe your plan should focus on playing slowly and further back. Does the enemy team have Baptiste window? Maybe try to play a corner where you can easily hide from the window. If you think you know what the enemy might do, you can try to come up with a plan in response to their ultimates. Tell your team to save Transcendence for Gravitic Flux, or where you're going to kite to when the enemy uses a Diva Bomb. With the information of both teams' ultimates and team compositions, you should be able to make a plan that benefits the playstyle of your team's comp and ultimates while taking away the value of theirs. In most compositions, the team's pathing is the responsibility of the main tank. As the anchor of the team, you dictate the movement and the space that your team takes and holds. In comms, the main tank should be telling his team the space he plans on taking or holding, or what pathing your team should take to reach the objective. Taking into account your team's plan and composition, you should decide what pathing and space is best to allow your team to find value. Mid-fight comms are an important part of making sure the game doesn't get too messy or hectic when a fight lasts a long time. The largest part of mid-fight comms are target calling. Target calling can be done by any player, but is typically done by the main tank. Good target calling chooses the best target depending on the hero and their location. For example, a Doomfist is much more dangerous than a Genji, making him a better target. Also, a target closer to your team would be much easier to kill than an Ashe across the point. Choosing the best target depends on the importance of the hero and how close they are to your team. When calling targets, it's typically best to call loudly and to give a location of the target if needed. A large amount of comms are said in the mid-fight, but none are more important than tempo calls. If you're low or notice that your team is down lots of cooldowns, tell your team to back up and stabilize. On the other hand, if you notice that the enemy team has no shields or is low on health, tell your team to push. Dictating the pace of the game is very important, as it helps your team capitalize on the advantages that they have and reset quickly when you're losing the fight. A team that is able to control the speed of the game correctly knows when a fight favors them, and for that reason are able to punish teams that don't back up or even push too far when they don't have an advantage. Of course, good communication is a critical part of becoming a good main tank. However, even with good comms, you can still get outclassed by other main tanks if your gameplay isn't up to snuff. Here are some tips for each main tank to help you make your gameplay better than your opponents. Starting with Reinhardt, did you know that Reinhardt's swing hitbox is actually in the shape of a square? With this being known, there are distances where you can't hit enemies in the center of your screen, but you can when they're on the side. The mistake I see most commonly in lower ranks is Reinhardt players always pinning after they use Shatter. When you do this, you knock all of the other enemies that you don't pin into the air, making them harder to hit for your team. Instead of pinning instantly, try to get as much cleave damage as you can before pinning, or pin in a line that doesn't knock the other enemies into the air. As Winston, trying to land as close to your enemies as possible is great, as your landing actually deals damage to enemies. The landing damage of Winston is normally up to 50, but you can actually melee right before you land to deal an extra 30 damage without having to sit through the melee animation afterwards. In Overwatch, the armor portion of a hero's health pool reduces the damage of many things, but is much more effective against lower ticks of damage. Because Winston's Tesla Cannon deals multiple ticks of small amounts of damage, it's actually more effective against armor to melee your enemy. Doing so will save you ammo and actually deplete the enemy's armor faster than just using your gun. The most important part of Orisa gameplay is making sure you're always communicating your pulls with your team. Pull by itself is a good ability, but being able to combo it with both normal abilities and ultimates makes the ability broken. Pulling squishies together for Doomfist to slam allows him to get much more value from his cooldowns and sets them up easily for him to kill. Pulling enemies together for a Sigma ultimate stops them from escaping the range of his ultimate, and groups them together for Sigma's primary fire. Hanzo's ultimate can typically get kills on squishies when placed perfectly, but can even be used to kill tanks with more than 500 HP if comboed correctly with pull. Though Orisa isn't the most impactful character, the difference between a good and a bad Orisa typically falls in their cooldown usage. Think about where you place your shield or when you use your fortify, as their long cooldowns could mean wasting it, might mean you won't have it when you really need it. If you think you're going to brawl into the enemy team, throw your shield inside their tanks to block both damage and healing. If you think you'll need it for something like an opposing Sigma ult, try your best to stay somewhere you'll be able to save your fortify. And lastly, for Wrecking Ball, using high grounds or ledges to slam on opponents is nothing new, but have you tried or practiced using walls to slam enemies? Wall slams are possible on most walls in the game, though they're the hardest to do on straight vertical walls. Other areas on some maps, however, such as Busan or Temple of Anubis, have a variety of slanted walls that make wall slamming much easier, and you can even reach certain high grounds using wall jumps. The double boop is a tactic you can use in certain situations to boot players off of the map where they may have been too far away to do so before. Remember, although Ball has a lot of different techs you can do to surprise or kill other players, he is still a team-orientated character. Try your hardest to tell your team where you are and when you're slamming enemies, and try to boot players out of position where your team can punish them. Finding value as Ball is much easier when you communicate and coordinate with your team.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and if you did make it to the end, I really do appreciate it. Also, thanks to Crimson for actually putting all the time into getting the clips for you guys, the explanation. I can't thank him enough. And actually, Crimson, if you want to just plug your Twitter or any other socials before we leave here, that'd be great.
If you want to follow me on Twitter, my @ is OW_Crimson. And on Twitch, I am Crimson_Overwatch. That's Overwatch spelled out, not OW.
All right, nice. Well, guys, I appreciate you guys all for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please do leave a comment below, leave a like. If you do want to get in touch with Crimson, feel free to join my Discord, and I can get you guys in touch with him. He'd be more than happy to help you out. But yeah, let me know what you guys all think. But I got to get going here. Thank you for watching. I got to peace out and pass out. I'll see you in the next one.